My brother-in-law walked into my office at 9:47 a.m. on the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, and I knew, before he even said a word, that my family had finally realized I wasn't worthless after all. I'm 32 years old, and I'm the family disappointment. Or at least, I was supposed to be. Let me paint you a picture. I'm the youngest of three kids. My older sister, Caroline, is a pediatric surgeon married to a corporate lawyer. They live in a house that looks like it belongs in Architectural Digest, drive matching Teslas, and vacation in the Maldives. My brother, Jason, runs his own construction company, married his high school sweetheart, and has three picture-perfect kids who play sports and get straight A's. And then there's me, Alex, the screw-up. I didn't go to medical school like my parents wanted. I didn't take over the family business like they hoped. I didn't marry young or give them grandchildren or follow any path they'd laid out for me. Instead, I got a degree in computer science from a state school, not even a prestigious one, and moved across the country to Seattle to work for a tech startup that nobody had ever heard of. My family acted like I'd joined a cult. Thanksgiving had always been a big deal in our family. The whole production, turkey, stuffing, three kinds of pie, my mom's famous sweet potatoes that she'd start preparing 2 days in advance. Everyone would gather at my parents' house in Connecticut. Caroline and her husband Marcus, Jason and his wife Beth and their kids, aunts, uncles, cousins. The house would smell like cinnamon and roasted turkey, and there'd be football on TV and wine flowing and all the warmth and chaos of a big family holiday. I'd flown back for it every year, even when plane tickets cost a fortune, even when I had to use precious vacation days, even when I was barely scraping by in my early 20s. Because family was family. Because Thanksgiving was sacred. Because I thought, despite everything, that I belonged there. This year was different. The first week of November, I was on a video call with my mom, just catching up, and I mentioned I was looking at flights. Flights? She said, her face doing that thing where it goes carefully neutral. Flights for what? For Thanksgiving. I was thinking of coming in Wednesday night, leaving Sunday. Does that work? There was a pause. A long, uncomfortable pause. Oh, honey, she said, and her voice had that pitying tone I'd learned to hate. We weren't sure you'd want to come this year. You're always so busy with work, and it's such a long trip. Of course I want to come. It's Thanksgiving. Another pause. Well, the thing is, Caroline and Marcus are hosting this year. At their place. And it's going to be intimate.
Just close family.
You know how their house is beautiful, but not a lot of space. Caroline's house had 6 bedrooms. I can get a hotel, I said, my chest tightening. It's not about the hotel, sweetie. It's just, Caroline's been so stressed with work, and she wants to keep things small and manageable. Maybe you could do Thanksgiving with friends this year? Start your own traditions. The message was clear. I wasn't invited. I sat there in my apartment, in my nice apartment that I'd worked my ass off to afford, staring at my laptop screen, and I felt like I was 12 years old again, picked last for kickball. Right, I said.
Sure.
That makes sense. You understand, don't you? It's nothing personal. Everything about it was personal.
We said goodbye.
I closed my laptop. And I sat there in silence, trying to figure out when exactly I'd become the family member they could just exclude. I knew when. I'd always known when. 3 years ago, I'd made a choice. My startup was failing, burning through cash, losing investors, circling the drain. My parents offered to help. Actually, they demanded to help. My dad wanted to invest, take a controlling interest, fix what we were doing wrong, which really meant turn it into something safe and boring and conventional. I said no. I believed in what we were building. I believed in my team. And I didn't want my family's money to come with strings attached, strings that always seemed to be tied around my neck. We fought.
Badly.
My dad said I was throwing away a lifeline out of pride. My mom cried and said I was being stubborn and foolish. Caroline told me I was an idiot for turning down free money. Jason just shook his head like I'd confirmed every low expectation he'd ever had of me. The startup failed 6 months later, and I never heard the end of it. Every family gathering became an opportunity for subtle digs. Such a shame about your company. Maybe now you'll consider something more stable. It's not too late to go back to school." They smiled when they said it, but the message was clear. You failed and we warned you, and now you're paying the price for not listening to us. What they didn't know, what I never told them, was that 3 of us from that failed startup had immediately gotten recruited by a major tech company. A very major tech company. And 6 months after that, we'd gotten acquired by an even bigger one. And I'd gotten stock options. A lot of stock options. And those options had vested. I didn't tell my family I was making $300,000 a year. I didn't tell them I had stock worth over $2 million. I didn't tell them I'd paid off my student loans, bought my apartment outright, and had more in savings than my parents had in their retirement fund.
Why?
Because I wanted to see if they'd value me without knowing my net worth. I wanted to see if they'd respect me for who I was, not what I had. I got my answer when they uninvited me from Thanksgiving. So I made plans with friends. I volunteered to work the holiday shift. Someone had to keep the servers running. I told myself it didn't matter, that I didn't need them, that I was fine. I wasn't fine, but I was getting there. Tuesday before Thanksgiving, I was in my office. I'd made senior director that year, corner office, view of the city, reviewing Q4 projections. My assistant knocked on my door. "Alex, there's someone here to see you. He doesn't have an appointment, but he says it's urgent. Family matter." My stomach dropped. "Who is it?" "Marcus Chen? Says he's your brother-in-law." What the hell was Marcus doing in Seattle? He walked in looking like he always did. Expensive suit, perfect hair, that confident stride of someone who'd never been told no in his life. But his face was pale, and there were circles under his eyes. "Alex," he said. "Thank God. We need to talk." I leaned back in my chair. "I'm at work, Marcus. This isn't really a great time." "I know."
I'm sorry.
"I flew out this morning. This couldn't wait." "You flew to Seattle. The Tuesday before Thanksgiving." "Yes. The Thanksgiving I'm not invited to." He had the decency to wince. "You heard about that. My mom told me Caroline wanted to keep it intimate.
Small.
Just close family." I let the words hang there. He ran a hand through his perfect hair. "That was Caroline's decision. I didn't look. Can we not do this right now? You came to my office. On a workday. Unannounced. So yeah, Marcus, we're doing this. What do you want?" He closed the door. Sat down across from me. And I saw it then. Real fear in his eyes. "I'm in trouble," he said quietly. "Serious trouble. And I think you're the only person who can help me." I almost laughed. "I'm sorry, what?" "There's a situation at my firm. A legal situation. It's complicated, but essentially, I'm being accused of insider trading. The SEC is investigating. I could lose my license. I could go to prison." "That's terrible, Marcus. But I'm not a lawyer. I don't know how I could possibly." "It's not about the law. It's about the data." And suddenly I understood. The trades in question, he continued, were based on proprietary algorithm predictions. My firm bought stock in a tech company right before a major acquisition was announced. The SEC thinks we had insider information, but we didn't. We have this AI system that analyzes market patterns, and it flagged the acquisition as likely. The problem is, I can't prove the algorithm works. The company that built it went under 3 years ago. Their servers are gone. Their code is gone. There's no way to validate that the system was legitimate and not just a cover for insider trading. My heart was pounding. What company built the algorithm?
He looked at me.
Really looked at me. Yours. Your startup. Before it failed. The room felt like it was spinning. "You're telling me that your firm used software from my company, the company my family told me was worthless, the company I got mocked for running into the ground, and now you need me to prove it worked so you don't go to prison?" "Yes." I stood up, walked to my window, looked out at the city I'd built a life in, far away from people who only saw my failures. "Does Caroline know you're here?"
No.
"She thinks I'm in New York for depositions." "Does my family know that your firm used our software?"
No.
I never told them. It felt awkward, given how things ended. "Awkward," I repeated. "You've been using my company's work for 3 years. making millions off our algorithms, and you thought it would be awkward to mention it, especially when they were all telling me I'd wasted my time. I'm sorry. You're right. But Alex, I need your help. Please. I turned around. Let me make sure I understand this. My family uninvited me from Thanksgiving because I'm the disappointment, the failure, the one who wouldn't listen and paid the price. And now you fly across the country to ask for my help because, what? I'm suddenly useful. It's not like that. It's exactly like that. My voice was sharp. Let me guess. You didn't tell them you were coming here because if I say no, they never have to know you asked. But if I say yes, suddenly I'm valuable. Suddenly, I'm worth having at Thanksgiving. His silence was confirmation. I sat back down, steepled my fingers. Here's what's going to happen, Marcus. I'm going to help you. Not because you deserve it, and not because I owe your wife anything, but because I don't let innocent people go to prison when I can prevent it, even when those people are married to my sister. Relief flooded his face. Thank you. God, thank you. I'm not finished. In exchange, you're going to do something for me. Anything. You're going to tell my family the truth. All of it. That your firm has been using my company's algorithm for years. That it's worth millions to you. That I built something valuable and real and successful, even though it didn't look like success to them. And you're going to do it at Thanksgiving dinner. He went pale. Alex. Those are my terms. Take them or leave them. He was trapped, and he knew it. Okay. Yes. I'll do it.
Good.
Send me everything, the algorithm documentation, the trade records, the SEC complaints. I'll need a few days to pull together the validation data. We kept backups. Cloud storage they didn't know about. You can really prove it works? Marcus, I built that algorithm. I know every line of code. I can prove it works, and I can show the SEC that your trades were based on legitimate predictive analysis, not insider information. You'll be fine. He stood up, shook my hand, thanked me probably 17 times. As he was leaving, he paused at the door. For what it's worth, he said, I never thought you were a failure. I always thought you were the smartest one in the family. But you didn't say anything when they uninvited me. He looked at the floor.
No.
I didn't. After he left, I sat in my office for a long time. Then I called my mom. Alex. Hi, sweetie, I wasn't expecting. I'm coming to Thanksgiving. Silence.
Oh.
Well, I told you, Caroline's keeping it small. Marcus was just here. In Seattle. He needs my help with something. Something important. Something that could save his career. And I'm going to help him. But I'm doing it in person at Thanksgiving dinner, so everyone can watch. I don't understand. You will. Tell Caroline I'll be there Wednesday night. I'll get a hotel. This is non-negotiable. I hung up. The next few days were a blur. I pulled every backup file from our old startup. I rebuilt the algorithm's decision trees, validated its predictions against 3 years of market data, documented every step of its analysis. I created a presentation that even the SEC couldn't argue with, proof that Marcus's firm had made legitimate, algorithm-based trades, not insider trading violations. I also did something else. I pulled my own financial records. Stock statements, bank accounts, investment portfolios. Printed them out. Put them in a folder. Wednesday night, I flew to Connecticut. I got a hotel room. I didn't tell anyone I'd arrived. Thanksgiving Day, I showed up at Caroline's house at 2 p.m., exactly when dinner was supposed to start. Caroline answered the door. Her face went through about 6 different emotions in 3 seconds: surprise, confusion, annoyance, and then forced politeness. Alex, you came. Marcus invited me. He did. We have business to discuss. Family business. I walked past her into the house. The whole family was there, my parents, Jason and Beth and their kids, aunts and uncles, everyone dressed nice and sipping wine and pretending everything was normal. My mom rushed over. Honey, you came. I wasn't sure if you'd. Well, I'm glad you're here. My dad gave me a stiff hug. Alex, good to see you, son. Jason nodded from across the room. Hey, man. Marcus looked like he might throw up. Dinner was awkward. Everyone kept looking at me like I was a bomb that might explode. Small talk about the weather, about the food, about Jason's business and Caroline's latest surgery. Nobody asked about my work. Nobody asked how I was doing. I was the ghost at the feast. Finally, over pie, my dad cleared his throat. So, Alex, what brings you all the way out here? Your mother mentioned you had business with Marcus? I set down my fork. I do. Marcus, do you want to explain, or should I? Every head in the room swiveled toward him.
He looked at me.
I nodded. Right, he said, voice shaky.
So,
The thing is, for the past 3 years, my firm has been using proprietary software for market analysis. It's been incredibly valuable to us. Generated millions in revenue. And, recently we hit a legal snag where we needed to validate the software's legitimacy. What does this have to do with Alex? Caroline asked. The software, Marcus said, was built by Alex's company. The startup you all told him was a failure. You could have heard a pin drop. My mother's face went white. What? Alex's company built an AI-driven market prediction algorithm. My firm licensed it before they went under. It's been the backbone of our trading strategy. And when the SEC came calling, Alex was the only person who could prove the algorithm was legitimate. And did you? My father's voice was quiet. Prove it. I pulled out my laptop. I spent the last 3 days reconstructing the entire validation framework. The algorithm works. It's brilliant, actually. It predicted the acquisition Marcus's firm traded on with 93% confidence based purely on public data analysis. No insider information needed. The SEC has already reviewed my documentation and dropped the investigation. I looked around the table.
So yeah.
My failed company just saved Marcus from prison and his firm from collapse. Funny how that works. Silence. Caroline found her voice first. Why didn't you tell us? Tell you what? That I built something valuable? Why would I, when you'd already decided I was a failure? We never said that, my mother protested. You uninvited me from Thanksgiving, Mom. That was because I don't fit the image of success you want. Because I made choices you didn't approve of. Because when I needed your support, you gave me lectures instead. And when I actually succeeded, you never bothered to ask. I pulled out the folder, put it on the table. You want to know what I've been doing the last 3 years? I'm a senior director at one of the biggest tech companies in the world. I make over $300,000 a year. I have stock worth over $2 million. I own my apartment. I have no debt. I've donated more to charity this year than most people make in a decade. My father picked up the papers, stared at them. 2 million. And I didn't tell you any of this because I wanted to see if you'd value me without it. If you'd treat me like family just because I'm your son, your brother. But you didn't. You cut me out. You made me prove my worth before you'd give me a seat at the table. I stood up. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to leave now. And you're all going to sit here and think about what you really care about, family or status, love or money. Alex, wait. My mother started. I forgive you, I said quietly. I forgive all of you. But I don't need you. Not anymore. I built a life without you. A good life. And I'm not going to keep begging for a place in a family that only wants me when I'm useful. I walked toward the door. Alex. It was my dad. I'm sorry. I turned around. He was standing now and he looked old suddenly. Tired. I'm sorry, he said again. You're right. About all of it. I saw your choices as failures because they weren't my choices. And I missed watching you succeed. I missed being proud of you. Because I was too busy being disappointed. My mom was crying. We were wrong, sweetie. We were so wrong. Caroline stood up. I'm sorry, too. I told Mom to keep Thanksgiving small because I was jealous. Jealous that you got out. That you built something on your own without caring what we thought. I'm sorry. Jason nodded slowly. You were always braver than the rest of us, man. I'm sorry I didn't see it. I stood there, hand on the doorknob, feeling the weight of years of hurt and disappointment and anger. I don't need your money, I said. I don't need your approval. But if you want me in your life, I need your respect. I need you to see me as I am, not as who you wanted me to be. My dad crossed the room, pulled me into a real hug.
Deal. Please stay.
Please. So I stayed. We talked. Really talked for the first time in years. I told them about my work, my life, my plans. They listened. They asked questions. They apologized again and again. It wasn't perfect. Years of hurt don't heal in one night. But it was a start. That was 2 years ago. This Thanksgiving, I'm hosting. At my new house, bigger than Caroline's, not that it matters. My family's coming. All of them. And this time, the invitation isn't conditional. Marcus still thanks me every time I see him. He named me godfather to their daughter. My dad and I talk every week now. We're rebuilding something real. And my mom? She tells everyone about her son, the tech director. She brags about me at her book club, sends me articles about the industry, asks my advice on her retirement investments. The irony isn't lost on me. Here's what I learned. Some people will only see your value when you're valuable to them. Some families love conditionally. And sometimes the strongest thing you can do is walk away until they understand what they're losing. I didn't need them to rescue me. I needed them to recognize me. And when they finally did, I had the choice to let them back in, not from a place of desperation, but from a place of strength. That's the difference between being wanted and being needed. And that's why I'll never again show up to a table where my seat is conditional. Because I learned to set my own table. And everyone who sits at it, family or not, has earned their place with love, not leverage. The best revenge isn't proving people wrong. It's building a life so good that their opinion of you stops mattering. And then, if you're generous, letting them back in anyway, not because you need them, but because you can finally afford to forgive them. But only if they've learned to see you as more than what you can do for them. And only if you've learned that you never needed their approval to be extraordinary.